Rook c8, rook a2, defending the bishop, take, take, and now a5. Carlsen is controlling the queenside. The bishop can go to a6, the knight can go to c5. Black is using squares around the white pawns. The fact that the pawn is on c4 and a4 means black can play bishop a6 to attack c4, knight c5 to attack a4, rook b8. Black owns the queenside. This has gone terribly wrong strategically for Firouzja. Firouzja versus Carlsen, the Spanish opening, and this is their first encounter in a classical game. Carlsen plays knight f6, going for a Berlin. Just as a side note, I want to mention, perhaps Carlsen is not going for a Sicilian because he knows Firouzja beat Dubov, his second, back in September 2019. Dubov is Carlsen's second, so already psychologically, there's an interesting choice already. Carlsen is a point behind, so why not play the Sicilian? Try to play a riskier opening, but instead he goes for the Berlin. Bishop b5, knight f6, d3, d6, c3, a6, bishop a4, bishop e7, both sides castle. Both sides get their rook to the center. Knight d2, bishop f8, h3, b5. Bishop back, bishop b7, d4. This is a big decision by Firouzja. He's played d3 on move 4. Now it is move 12, but things are now beginning to change. I think there is a huge difference between this and, let's say, the Breyer system. Black already has his bishop on b7, and I think this affects how white plans to move this knight on d2. So let's check out the next few moves. g6, a3. Notice white cannot move the knight on d2 yet. If you play knight f1, e d4, c d4, knight b4, and black has 3 pieces attacking the e4 pawn. White has to play knight g3, but then take, take, and already white has lost his Spanish bishop. This is not a good variation. Firouzja played a3 in the game, but another question is d5. Locking up the center, gaining space, and this is a better version of the game. In the game, which we will see shortly, knight b8 is played, b3, c6, c4. And we have this sort of diamond structure, which we can see in the Spanish. White gets a lot of space, but black plans to play around this space, which is what Carlsen did so well in the game. Queen c7, knight f1, take, take, a5. And we will see this very soon. White played a3 in the game. Knight b8, and really, this knight cannot move at the moment. This is one disadvantage of playing d4 after you've played d3. Carlsen is able to rearrange his pieces, so then white is unable to get in knight f1 to g3 so easily. Knight b8 played, just like in the Breyer, and now d5. Big decision for white to lock it up. Same problem here, you can't go knight f1 because e d4 and the e pawn will drop. Another option is actually to play b4. You are expanding on the queen side. So let's just quickly look at this. If you go knight d7, bishop b2, white still has chances on the queen side. Maybe get d5 in, c4, a4. If black goes c5, take, take, and now d5, and maybe white can get c4 or a4 in as well. Black could be the one to get c4 and then a4, and then the game goes on. White spent 10 minutes on d5. c6 breaking it up, c4, knight d7, a4. Compared to the other line, white has wasted a move. I think Firouzja changed his mind and wants to go for this a4, b3 setup, which he does. Imagine the pawn is back on a2, then we have the variation mentioned before. Also, the pawn being on a4 is actually now a target, so something has gone very wrong for white. Perhaps white should not have gone d4 to lock it up. But hey, the game goes on. Rook c8, rook a2, defending the bishop, take, take, and now a5. Carlsen is controlling the queen side. The bishop can go to a6, the knight can go to c5. Black is using squares around the white pawns. The fact that the pawn is on c4 and a4 means black can play bishop a6 to attack c4, knight c5 to attack a4. Knight f1, finally Firouzja has the chance to make the typical Spanish maneuver. Playing knight f1 and then maybe going knight g3, knight e3. Bishop a6, Firouzja chooses to protect. c4 with the knight. Carlsen takes his time, deciding when it will be optimal to trade on d5, using the c-file for black's major pieces, the queen and the rook. Knight c5. 2 minor pieces on the e4 pawn, so defend, and now he takes. Take back, rook b8. Black owns the queenside. This has gone terribly wrong strategically for Firouzja. Bishop a3, queen d8, queen f3, and now h5. First thing to mention, perhaps white could go knight g4, just trying to swap off some pieces, because the knight on e3 is not as good as the knight on f6. This knight is useful attacking e4 as a target, so perhaps knight g4 is possible. It's always a good strategy to trade your worst piece. Take, and then you can take with the h-pawn. Bishop h6, the game goes on. Black controls so many dark squares. Knight d3 could be next as well. Queen f3 played. Carlsen plays h5 to stop knight g4 with bishop h6 coming in. Rook a1, planning to trade rooks soon. Bishop h6, rook b1, take, king g7. After king g7, Carlsen is slowly improving the black position because e4 is a target, a4 is a target. This bishop controls the d3 square. Many ways for black to make progress in white's position. Knight f1, h4, knight e3, bishop f4, knight f1. White doesn't have a plan in this position, and now queen c7 played. Maybe white needs to continue making nothing moves. After g3, this gives black a target. So let's just check this out. What if queen d7? Because this attacks the a4 pawn. Rook b6 is the idea. Because you can't take on a4, because you can take on a4, take back, and then rook a6. Note this queen protects this bishop. So rook b6 is some tactical idea for white. So bear this in mind for the variation coming up. Queen c7 played first, and g3. Now what happens if white does nothing? This was my first question. Because g3 gave black targets. Knight h7. Black does not want the white queen on f3 to protect e4. So let's go knight g5, and then we can get rid of the defender. Knight f1, knight g5, queen d1, and let's finally swap off some minor pieces. Because notice, in this middle game, it's about move 30 now. Both knights, both bishops, for both sides are still on the board. Take on f1. e4 will drop very soon. King takes, bishop d2, giving up the bishop pair, but you plan to win the center pawn, and also after knight c takes e4, which is accurate, this forces the exchange. Bishop takes, knight takes e4, black will be winning. Back to the game, g3 played, and take, drop the bishop back. Bishop is now more alive. h4, queen d7, now is the time to switch. Really clever. King g2 played in the game, but why not rook b6 just like before, based on this tactical shot by white? It looks like you cannot take on a4, but here queen a7 is the big difference. The king on g1 is under attack, so if you move the rook, a discovered check will just win the bishop on c2. Rook on c8 will take this bishop. If white plays defensively with queen d1, you give black a chance to come in with queen h3. Queen back to f3, knight g4. Threatening, bishop takes d2, and queen h2 checkmate. Queen g2 played to stop it, take. Knight e3 check is a threat, so let's make it happen. Bishop takes d2 first. Knight d2, knight e3 check, winning the bishop. After queen d7, the pawn on a4 will fall. King g2, knight takes a4. Carlsen is crashing through. Bishop takes, queen takes a4. Why swap this bishop off? Because now bishop takes d6. But black improves the placement of the black queen, puts it on d4. Bishop takes d2 is a threat, and also rook c2 coming up. Queen f2 played, leading to a loss of a piece, and shortly after, Firouzja resigned. Queen takes f2 check, king takes f2. Firouzja now plays bishop takes f1 because e4 will fall. If you play king takes f1, the knight drops. If you play knight takes f1, even worse, knight e4 check, then the bishop on d6 will fall. And after bishop takes f1, Firouzja resigned. Maybe the game could go on a bit. King takes f1, bishop d2, bishop e5. I think this is why white resigned. After rook e8, it looks like that's it. But black still has to be a bit accurate here. Move the bishop, rook e4. If you go d6, a4 is accurate. d7, drop the bishop back to a5. Bishop c3, nice option here. You could go rook c4, really cool. Because after bishop a5, knight d7, and then this will be winning. Run the a pawn down. Bishop e5, instead of rook e8, there's this nice option, bishop c3. So rook c1 is the option. So I thought this variation was interesting. Perhaps Firouzja resigned a bit too early. Bishop takes e5, rook takes rook, and we are saying the two minor pieces will control the board better. And you have the outside pawn, and g3 will drop. Rook c4, king f8, king g2, bishop back to d6, king f3, king e7. Still, black had to make about 10 moves to get a good position. Let's keep playing a little bit. King e3, knight d7. If you come forward, bishop g3, h4 is just a constant target. Rook a4, you can check, and now knight b6 is a nice move. You can't take on a5 because knight c4 check. So after this, knight b6, rook a2, a4, and it's time for black to get his king in, march it up to finish off the game. This is how Carlsen got to 5.5 out of 9 in Tata Steel, beating Firouzja. Check out one video here and another video over here. If you enjoyed the show, why not like the video? It really does help this video out in the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to hit that bell to get notified each time I release a new video.